How do you determine if one coach is better than the other? Is it his team's record? Is it the amount of injuries that he deals with? Is it the coach that does the most with the least? All of these are good questions to ask when trying to decide who is most deserving of Coach of the Year. I'm not really sure which is the best way to go, simply because there is no criteria. Sometimes it's the coach that did the most with the least. Sometimes it's the most surprising team. And sometimes the winner is so tough to figure out that the voters just go with the coach with the most wins. One thing's for sure, it usually doesn't go to the best coach in the league, or else Greg Popovich will win every year. When I choose my pick for Coach of the Year, I mainly look at who did the most with the least and who is the most surprising team. Which isn't fair to Popovich because he does a great job year after year, but he has won the award 3 times, so he shouldn't be too upset. And just like I did in all of my award videos, I will choose 3 candidates as if I'm doing my own ballot. My third place pick for Coach of the Year is Greg Popovich. Third place was a little hard, but I mean, how can you leave the greatest coach in NBA history, or at least in the modern era, off of this list? He does it every single year consistently. He doesn't have multiple stars on his team anymore. He has Kawhi Leonard. He doesn't have young Tony Parker. He doesn't have a young Manu Ginobili. He does have a very talented team, and I do believe that gets overlooked sometimes, but he still maximizes his team talent to the best of its abilities like no other coach has ever done, and like no other coach will probably ever do. My second place pick for Coach of the Year is Mike D'Antoni. This was another last minute change that I made simply because the next coach on this list has a pretty compelling case. D'Antoni took over a team that lost its second best player in Dwight Howard, told the best shooting guard in the NBA that he's going to start playing point guard, and improved by 14 games. No one outside of Houston expected the Rockets to finish as high as they did in the standings. But after looking over things again, the Rockets had a pretty good team. I think Eric Gordon and Ryan Anderson made bigger impacts than people expected, and I think this year overshadowed all of the turmoil that the team went through last season. So D'Antoni gets a little more credit than he actually deserves. With that being said, I still had a very hard time choosing D'Antoni as my pick for Coach of the Year. He was my pick all season long, but the next guy really came out of nowhere. My pick for Coach of the Year is Erik Spoelstra. I mean, just looking at these stats, they speak for themselves. After losing arguably his 2 best players, no one expected Miami to compete for a playoff spot. And at first, it didn't look like they would. The Miami Heat started the season 11-30, but then did a total 180. Literally a total 180 by finishing the season at 30-11. How was that possible? Ask Erik Spoelstra. Erik Spoelstra made adjustments mid-season that totally turned this team around. Now, I'm not going to say he only had bums, because his 2 best players played more than 85% of the season each. And had Miami had a better record come All-Star weekend, Whiteside definitely would have been an All-Star. But he was giving heavy rotation minutes to the likes of James Johnson, Tyler Johnson, and former undrafted rookie Rodney McGruder. Have you ever heard of him? For me, it's honestly a toss-up between D'Antoni and Spoelstra. But I'm going Spoelstra because of his composure that he kept with his team solo in the standings and the adjustments that he made mid-season. But of course, these are my picks. I believe the NBA will choose D'Antoni to take it because his team is in the playoffs, in addition to everything that I just said about him. Spoelstra will get a lot of votes for his adjustments and what he had to work with outside of his 2 best players. But when is the last time a Coach of the Year didn't make the playoffs? Greg Popovich sneaks in at number 3. Well, because he's Greg Popovich. His team's a lot more talented than people think because the system makes it hard for multiple players to shine statistically. But he still does the most with what he has better than any other coach in the NBA. So if these are the NBA's actual picks, I will not have a problem at all. But let me know what you guys think. As always, I'm very interested in reading your thoughts. And don't forget to rate, share, and subscribe so that you guys can see what I have coming next.